much better. So we've been busy underneath the hood here, pretty much starting from one end to the other. We put a new steering box on it because when I fired it up for the first time, the steering wheel went off on its own by itself. Can't have that. So new steering motor. We put a new brake booster on. We put a new master cylinder on. We did all new brake lines front to back. We rebuilt both axles. Then the slave cylinder for the clutch here, that was a one-piece kit we got off eBay, and I really like it. It comes assembled with oil and everything in it. Very simple to put on, and put that right to the transmission, where we also put a brand new clutch in when we had the engine out. The vacuum pump and the power steering reservoir we didn't touch, so hopefully that still works. Put new clamps and boots on most of the air-to-air. Got the air-to-air checked and it leaked, so we had to put a new air-to-air on the front. Got the rad pressure checked and it leaked, so we got a new rad in there. The alternator was seized when I got it, so we put a new alternator on it. The turbo was okay, but it wasn't great, so I had one in the shop, so we put a new turbo on, new used turbo on. We're adding another battery here, so I'm turning the washer tank sideways, so I got to make a bracket yet to support the battery in the washer tank. The AC compressor, the one that we got confused because we are using the engine off the 92 and we had a 91 out back, so the brackets on the air compressor are off by about I would say 3/8 of an inch. So I had to take the pulley was no good and the clutch was no good on the original one, but it was okay on the 91. It just didn't fit. So I had to take the clutch and pulley off of the 92 the 91 and put it on the 92 AC compressor. He's still gonna have to get all new AC lines for it. They've been exposed, they need to be cleaned, they're all rusty, so he'll probably have to end up getting a new receiver dryer and an evaporator in it, but that's to worry about next spring because we're getting into winter now, so we're just gonna get it going. All new gaskets in the engine, so valve cover, did a valve set, exhaust gaskets, oil pan gasket, front cover with the deadly dowel pin. Put the little pin in front of that so that it didn't leak. The starter was no good, so we put a new starter on it. The mounts were okay, so we left them alone. And what? Oh, a new lift pump for the fuel, and I think that's about it. So we still have a couple gremlins here. Something's draining the battery when it's not being used. I gotta look into that. I have to hook up the block heater yet, and the timer for that, I'm not sure. I haven't tested it yet to see if that's working yet. I got to put the cruise on yet, but the wire harness off of the 91 that we used has a different cruise control than the 92 setup. So the cable works the same. I got to check that unit and make sure that that's working yet. And the fan isn't working right yet. So inside, I don't know whether it's the controls inside or if it's the fan itself. Something wonky's going on there yet, so we're gonna look into that. Every wiring issue, every little piece that doesn't work, wipers, whatever else, it takes a long time to get going, but it's gonna be a nice truck when it's done. So yeah, here we go. So this is the clutch pedal assembly, and this is the story of Dodge, where you can see the pin that pushes on the master cylinder for the clutch is wore almost in half, and the bushings and the tube here were worn right out. They're just a little Teflon piece, so I managed to find enough in our parts trucks to make one one good pedal out of it. It's hours and hours of this fiddly little stuff, but if you've got the time to do it, it's well worth it, but it does add up fast. So here we go. So I've been staring at these ugly trucks for all summer, and I thought this cab is so completely stripped, there's nothing left that I could still use on there, and then I realized I need this little valve for the heat. So I do have a general rule where you don't throw anything away until the project's done, and as annoying as that is, it does pay off a lot more often than you would think. So yeah, keep it around to save yourself that money, because buying just that valve, like it's not seized or anything, it's a little rusty, but it seems to work okay. Will end up saving you money in the long run. So in the cab here, we've got the floor back in it again. The shifter, I never saw the original shifter. We had it off, and it had some wonky little quick connect type thing on it, and he couldn't find it, so I had to take the shifter apart again at the top, and I had the shifter laying in the shop. It's actually off a GM, don't tell anybody. But I had to cut the tip off of the shifter linkage and use the GM one, and then I was able to thread this one on. So unfortunately the boot is different from the original Dodge. He can worry about that later if he wants. We still have to do the door panels and the windows, and then the tail lights aren't working yet, so we still got to figure out the wiring in the back there. But we've got the floor welded in, the seats are bolted back in again. I found out later that he's got a much nicer steering wheel laying at his place, and debating on, we'll probably pull the steering wheel off and put the nicer one on there. Still want to use the steering column. I'm sure is fine. We had to buy a new wiper switch for it because the wipers weren't working right. And other than that, everything else should be pretty well up and ready to go in here. Gotta get the cab lights working yet. The clutch, the neutral safety isn't working right, so I think I'm actually missing a piece there. Gotta go online and take a look what it actually looks like. But there's two contacts. When you push down, it's supposed to connect the contacts and connect your starter. And there's nothing that's actually in between the end of the pedal and that neutral safety switch. So whether I make a spring that attaches to the pedal that's able to go up against the contacts, or order the right thing, I don't know. We'll have to see if we can even get that anymore. So yeah, still a few things to do, but we can feel it. We can almost taste it that it's gonna leave the shop this week. So we're getting closer underneath. The brakes are bled. Everything's still a little wet. A few things to button up yet. I have to find the four-wheel drive wiring harness for the transmission. That is off and automatic, so I got to root through my pile of wiring harnesses and find the right harness for that. Our drive shaft is going to get made this week. We're going to drop it off in St. Catharines to our drive shaft place there. We need to have a slip yoke put inside. Because we've got U-joints on the front and on the back that get bolted right to the yokes. I have to have room for the drive shaft to slide in and out. So they're going to take the drive shafts and lengthen them and put a slip yoke in the middle with a hanger bearing at the same time. So most likely we'll have to move this bracket, but we'll let them worry about that. We put a 4-inch lift under the back just to bring the truck level again. Putting the four-wheel drive under the front, raise it up about 4 inches. Now, it might not have needed the blocks if we used the springs from the 92, but we left the springs alone because the bushings and everything were tight and they were sloppy on the other one. So we left the springs alone, and it was just a matter of cutting the U-bolts, putting the block in, and putting longer U-bolts in there. I got to do a little bit of wiring at the back yet. I got to plug in the ABS sensor and figure out the taillights. A couple little gremlins in there I got to figure out yet. We're getting much closer. We'll take it for a little drive and see how, get a little bit more excited about it, just get it off the hoist and get it out of the shop, kind of clean up the shop again and kind of start again on Monday and figure out the last of the wiring. So yeah, here we go. and replaces the vacuum pump. It's leaking in the seal between the vacuum and drive for the pump. It's starting to sound a lot better than when we first did. It's idling a lot smoother now. The idle's a bit too high yet, but the throttle cable's not right. The 91 and the 92 had a square hole and a round hole, and I've got a round cable going in a square hole, so we got to find the right cable for it, or cut the firewall, but we'll see. Not much blue anymore. Maybe there was blue in the exhaust pipe or something from, it was all used pipe too, so you never know. But actually pretty peppy. It'll spin the front tires no problem. We don't have a back drive shaft in, of course, yet, but yeah, we're getting it. It's a nice rig. So follow a variety of projects that include conversions and repairs to anything from Ferraris to chainsaws. And check out the Tape Boss, my newest invention that's coming to market. And remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich.